Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The wine glass was still half full. The candle was burned halfway down. Her laughter hadn't even faded from the walls yet. But she stood in the doorway, clutching her purse like a shield, frozen in place, because something was wrong. The lights were off. The TV, which I usually left on for background noise, was silent. No dinner smells. No shoes by the door. No soft hum from the bathroom fan I always forgot to turn off. Just nothing. The framed photo from our anniversary trip to Cape May? Gone. The throw blanket she always complained I hogged? Gone. Even my toothbrush vanished. Everything that was mine had been peeled out of our home like I was never there. She called my name once. Then again, louder, sharper. Nothing answered. And that's when I know it hit her. That strange sound you make when your breath skips over your own confusion. That tiny crack of panic in the throat. I imagined it perfectly. I wasn't there to hear it in person, but I didn't need to be. Because this wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't rage. It was a plan. A slow, quiet escape. Not out of cruelty, but exhaustion. Earlier that evening, while she leaned across the restaurant table pretending not to notice her boss brushing her wrist, I was packing. Calmly. Folding shirts that still smelled like the detergent she picked out. Wrapping the chipped mug she gave me on our third Christmas together. Removing myself with surgical precision. Like cleaning up a crime scene no one was supposed to find. I didn't leave a letter. I didn't want to give her a script to cry over or argue with. But I did leave one thing. One item, placed right where I knew she'd look first. And that single object told her more than any angry monologue ever could. She didn't move for at least 30 seconds. That's what I imagined, anyway. Just standing there in the threshold of our home. Her heels still clicking against the tile she insisted we have imported. The keys dangling from her fingers like they belonged to a stranger now. She was probably waiting for a joke. Some dramatic surprise. Maybe she thought I was hiding in the kitchen with candles and a gift to celebrate her promotion dinner. But the silence didn't play along. The air in the house had already shifted. It no longer belonged to both of us. Just her, and the echo of what she ruined. The thing I left behind wasn't dramatic. Not a letter, not a photo, not a shattered plate. It was a small, square envelope. White. Clean. Placed exactly where she'd always toss her purse when she got home, the end of the kitchen island. Inside it was a receipt. One she never saw coming. Not from a lawyer. Not even a therapist. It was for a storage unit rental 2 towns over. Paid 6 months in advance. Under my name only. A quiet message written in ink. I had been preparing to disappear long before she ever admitted where her affections went. I could picture her holding the paper, reading it twice, then flipping it over, hoping there was more. Some sign of emotion. A tear. A crack in my voice. But I gave her none of that. She'd already taken everything else. My confidence. My peace. My ability to sleep without checking if she was really beside me or texting Malcolm from the bathroom again. This was the first thing I'd done in years that was just for me. A secret she didn't get to rewrite. I didn't leave because she had dinner with her boss. I left because I stopped being able to recognize the woman who came home from those dinners. The way she smelled like cologne I didn't own. The way she never looked guilty. Only bored. The way she once told me that emotional affairs don't count. And when I asked if I was allowed one too, she laughed like I wasn't capable of attracting anyone. She may have expected a fight, a confrontation, or even begging. Instead, I gave her nothing. And sometimes, nothing is the loudest message you can send. The next morning, I didn't wake up to the smell of her perfume or the usual sound of her hair dryer whining from the bathroom. I woke up on a cheap futon in the corner of my rented storage unit. I'd layered it with an old sleeping bag, and one of the throw pillows she used to complain clashed with the living room. I actually liked that pillow. It was ugly, sure, but it was mine. Everything in that unit was mine. Every object a little piece of me I had slowly smuggled out of our life, like a prisoner escaping his own home. And yet, despite the terrible mattress and the cold concrete walls, it was the first night in months I'd actually slept straight through without hearing whispers in the hallway or my own thoughts yelling at me for being too cowardly to leave. I finally had silence. And that silence tasted like oxygen. By noon, I had 10 missed calls and 4 voice messages. The first was her saying my name calmly, like I was a lost dog. The second was more clipped. "This isn't funny, Dwight." The third had a tremble in her voice, as if she had just noticed what was missing. The fourth? Silence. For seconds of silence, and then a soft, "I don't understand." like a child who broke something and couldn't figure out how. That one hurt. More than I expected. I nearly called back. Nearly. But I didn't. Instead, I drove to the bank. She never noticed I had started shifting our money into a personal account a few months ago. Not to punish her. Back then, I didn't even believe she was cheating. I just felt unsafe, unseen, disposable. Like I was one promotion away from being replaced by a man in a suit who never stuttered when he talked about numbers. Malcolm didn't just offer her dinners and compliments. He offered her the fantasy of being someone new. And she accepted that fantasy without ever asking what it would cost me. The teller gave me a long look when I withdrew half of what was left. Going somewhere? She asked. I just nodded. Yeah, I said. Finally. And it wasn't just money I was taking. It was time. Time I had wasted forgiving smiles that were really lies. Time I spent pretending to be enough. Now, that time belonged to me again. As I stepped out into the parking lot, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text. No words. Just a picture. A photo of the kitchen counter, and the envelope I left behind, still exactly where I placed it. She hadn't moved it. She had no idea what to do with it. That's when I knew. She still thought this was temporary. She still didn't understand that I wasn't lost. I had left. I drove past our street 3 times before I finally parked across from the house. It was dusk, and the warm glow from the front window made everything look deceptively normal, like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just erased myself from the life we built. My chest tightened as I watched her silhouette move through the living room. She was pacing, phone in hand, probably rehearsing what to say if I ever picked up. I didn't go back to be seen. I just needed to know what kind of grief, if any, my absence had stirred. Because the truth is, I wasn't fully gone, not yet. My body had left, yes, but my heart, still stupidly waiting for a sign that she felt the loss. I watched her disappear down the hallway and reappear with a framed photo in hand. Our wedding photo. The one where I looked like I'd just won the lottery, and she looked like she was trying not to cry. I remember that day clearly. She said her tears were happy ones. I believed her then. Watching her now, staring at that picture, I couldn't help but wonder if she was finally feeling something more than irritation. Maybe regret? Maybe panic? Or maybe just confusion that the man who never raised his voice finally decided not to speak at all. My phone buzzed again. This time, a message I didn't expect. Please come home. We need to talk. That word, we, hit harder than it should have. After all the secrets, all the brushing off, she still dared to pretend we were a team. I nearly threw the phone across the car. Instead, I opened the photo app. I had taken pictures before I left. Quiet snapshots of empty drawers, my wedding ring on the bathroom counter, and the storage unit key taped to the back of the closet wall. Proof that I hadn't acted out of impulse. I had planned to disappear. Thoughtfully. Silently. Like a man digging his way out of a prison cell with a spoon. And yet, here I was, watching her from behind a windshield like some ghost who couldn't fully cross over. The version of me she knew, the one who stayed through the lies, who shrank into himself every time she came home from another work dinner, looking like a different woman. That version was gone. But what if she didn't even notice he'd died? She stepped outside suddenly. Looked right across the street. I ducked. Pathetic, I know. But what scared me most wasn't the idea of her seeing me. It was the possibility that she wouldn't even recognize the man I'd become. I didn't sleep that night. I laid there on the futon in the storage unit, staring at the ceiling while the hum of the fluorescent light outside flickered like a dying thought I couldn't quiet. I kept replaying that moment. Her stepping outside, looking toward the street, almost like she sensed me, like she felt me watching. But she didn't call out, didn't walk toward the curb. She just stood there for a second, then turned and disappeared into the house again. And that silence? It confirmed something I had been too afraid to say out loud. She wasn't heartbroken. She was just inconvenienced. Like someone losing a pair of glasses they didn't care much about until they needed to read something. Around 2 a.m., I finally played one of her voicemails. Her voice was softer this time. She said she was confused and worried. Not sorry. Not ashamed. Just confused. Like I had pulled a magic trick and she was the victim of surprise. As if I hadn't been disappearing for months right in front of her while she smiled across the table at Malcolm. I had to wonder, did she even understand what she had done? Or was she so deep in denial that she thought this was just a dramatic reaction to a harmless work dinner? I pulled out my notebook. Yeah, I keep one, Call it pathetic if you want. I started writing everything I remembered, line by line, every moment I had felt small. The time she rolled her eyes when I told her I missed her. The time I asked if we could do something spontaneous and she said, "You wouldn't handle spontaneity well." The time she forgot my birthday and blamed it on too much going on at work. One by one, I bled those memories into the page like poison that needed to be drained. By sunrise, I had 3 missed calls. 1 from her, 2 from her sister. Her sister. Now that was unexpected. We hadn't spoken much in years, not since she pulled me aside at our wedding and whispered, "Don't let her steamroll you." I always thought it was a joke, but now, maybe it was the first and last warning I ignored. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. I called her back. She picked up on the first ring and said one sentence that made the blood in my arms go cold. "You need to know what she told Malcolm after dinner." I didn't say anything at first, just stood there in the corner of that cold unit, phone pressed to my ear, heart thudding like I'd stepped into traffic. Her sister didn't wait for me to catch up. "After dinner," she said again. She went back to the table with Malcolm and told him something I think you should have heard from her directly. There was a pause, one of those loaded, dangerous pauses, and then she said it. She told him you were harmless, that you'd never leave, no matter what she did. My knees buckled. I had to sit down. Harmless. That word hit harder than cheater, or liar, or even unfaithful. It wasn't just cruel, it was dismissive. That's what she thought of me. A paperweight in her life? An obstacle too weak to move? I don't know why it cut so deep. Maybe because I knew, on some level, she had been right. For so long I stayed. I tolerated the late nights, the vague excuses, the disinterest. I turned myself into wallpaper in our marriage, always there but never noticed. All while she kept pushing the boundaries, convinced I wouldn't push back. And until now, I hadn't. I let her shrink me, day by day, moment by moment. And the worst part? I thought that was love. I thought holding on while being ignored made me loyal. All it really made me was invisible. "I'm sorry," her sister said quietly. I didn't want to get in the middle, but she laughed when she said it. Like it was funny. Like you were just a phase she outgrew. That last part nearly made me throw up. I thanked her, though I don't know why. Maybe because hearing it from someone else finally made it real. I wasn't being paranoid. I wasn't overreacting. She didn't just betray me. She ridiculed me. And I had to admit, she was wrong about one thing. I did leave. But maybe she still thought this was a tantrum, a stunt. I stared at my phone for a long time after the call ended. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't devastated, but because something colder had taken root. Not anger. Not revenge. Just clarity. I wasn't going back. Not after this. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of proving her point. She'd find out, soon enough, that the harmless man she discarded had finally learned how to walk away. And I already knew exactly where I'd go next. The next morning, I drove to the motel I had booked under a different name. It was a dusty little place off Route 9, the kind of place where no one asked questions and the coffee tasted like cardboard. But for the first time in years, I felt anonymous in a good way. No expectations. No forced smiles. No pretending. I sat on the bed with the TV on mute and stared at the sunlight leaking through the curtains like I was seeing color for the first time. I kept replaying her sister's words over and over again. Just a phase she outgrew. I couldn't decide what hurt more, how casually Lorna said it, or how easily she believed it. It made me realize something no one ever tells you. Betrayal isn't just about lies. It's about erasure. She had erased me from her narrative. I wasn't even the villain in her story. I was a footnote. A man she tolerated until she found someone shinier. And now, with me gone, I knew she wasn't sitting in that house crying. She was likely building a new story, one where I was unstable or dramatic or couldn't handle her ambition. She'd twist it all, make herself the hero for enduring me as long as she did. And Malcolm? He'd believe it. He'd hold her hand and nod as she told him about her poor husband who just couldn't keep up. I picked up my phone and opened her contact. My thumb hovered over the block button. Not because I expected her to call again. She hadn't tried since her sister got involved. But because I couldn't stop checking. I kept hoping for some sign that she was hurting. That my absence had left even a hairline fracture in her perfect little world. But the truth? She was probably already shifting the furniture, repainting the walls, scrubbing away the smell of me. That's when I made the decision. If she wanted to pretend I never mattered, I'd help her forget me completely. I wouldn't just disappear. I'd unwrite myself from her life. I logged into our shared storage account and started deleting photos. The honeymoon album, gone. Our anniversary in Asheville, gone. The videos from our first apartment, when we still laughed together and danced in the kitchen, deleted. Every moment she took for granted. I erased it all. I knew she had backups, probably. But I also knew she wouldn't notice right away. And by the time she did, it wouldn't matter. Because I wasn't the man she left. I was the ghost she created. 2 weeks later, I stood on a quiet stretch of beach, far from the house that once held my silence. The air smelled like salt and pine, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't thinking about what Lorna was doing or whether she missed me. I was thinking about what I wanted for dinner, what book I might start, whether I should grow a beard. Dumb, ordinary things. And it felt peaceful. There was no dramatic confrontation, no final scream fest. She didn't chase after me or try to stop me. But maybe that's what I needed most, to accept that closure doesn't always come from someone else. Sometimes, it comes when you realize you survived something you thought would destroy you. I rented a small cabin nearby, nothing fancy, just clean and quiet. There's a coffee shop down the road where they remember my name and ask about my day. I started journaling again, not to vent, but to figure out who I am when I'm not being someone's disappointment. I even made a list of things I want to do, things Lorna would have rolled her eyes at, like painting, or adopting another cat, or maybe just learning how to make a really good lasagna. Funny how the world keeps turning after your life falls apart. I haven't spoken to her since, but I did get one last text a few days ago. It was just a photo of the empty photo wall in our living room. No caption, no apology, just a blank space. Maybe it was her version of goodbye, or maybe she wanted me to feel like something was missing. But the truth is, I didn't. I felt free. For the first time, I'm not waiting for her to change, to regret, to come back. I'm just living. Slowly, quietly, but fully. And that's more than enough. Now it's your turn. What moment in this story hit you the hardest? Was it the envelope, the voicemail, or the final text? Let us know in the comments. Your insights help others feel less alone. This was the final part of Dwight's story, right here on Reddit Confessions. If you enjoyed it, subscribe for more raw and emotional journeys.